This
For whatever
conference
reason,
will now be recorded.
if for whatever reason you lose me, text me so that way I know that I'm going in or out or whatever. So tonight, what we're going over is the new product line underneath My Leadership Network. So just so you guys know, My Leadership Network is an education company. I put it together originally for direct sales, and when I put it together and I told other people about it, they said, "Hey, you realize the platform you built is going to be good for so many other things." And I said, "Well, initially." It's directed at people in the direct sales industry because that was one of the industries that I've been in. But people were really interested in what I had been doing in health and what I've been doing in real estate. And I actually remember talking to Brandy and I said, what we're going to do is we're going to roll out several other product lines that all fit this same structure. So that's what I'm going to do tonight is talk about our second wave, which is real estate, which is one of the things I've always wanted to be in. I've been in it since I was 19. I've actually had a brokerage, real estate brokerage since 2003. So yeah, 20 years, right? So it's been a while. I've done a lot of different things, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. So My Leadership Network is the parent company. And what I want to do tonight is kind of go over the company, the need that we're filling, what our products are, how our compensation works, because some people here are actually interested in getting paid to network. If you're interested in getting paid to network in real estate, let me make that clear. Paid to network in real estate. I initially built this to get paid to teach other people what to do in sales and recruiting and training, and that worked out really well. So this is just the same process, only directed 100% at real estate. We're also going to go over the timing of why this kind of makes sense. So My Leadership Network, the whole idea of a training company was I based it out of Indianapolis. I actually founded and put this idea together in 2016. In 2016, I wrote up kind of a blueprint of how to train people in direct sales, but I also wrote up a blueprint of how to train people in real estate for what I knew how to do. They were very, very similar. I never thought I could put it all underneath one program, but that's basically what's happened. We actually launched this as an affiliate program a year ago. Well, a year and a month ago. And I did it debt free. I did it out of my pocket. I was able to pay for the entire website and background and marketing. And this has basically been built 100% through word of mouth. So you're looking at the very, very beginning of it. Now, my background actually, I started out probably, right around 10 years ago, coming back to Indianapolis in 2014 in the middle of a snowstorm in February. Some of you who live in Indianapolis remember that we have ice storms and snowstorms. I got there and I said, look, I'm going to put together three things. First, I'm going to put together this holistic massage business. And that's what I worked on first. I actually became a holistic doctor, a doctor of naturopathy, which just basically means natural doctor. We look at things from, more of a natural side versus a pharmaceutical side. Not that we don't believe in pharmacy, right? If you cut your arm off, you need to go to the hospital right away. You can't rub dirt on it or roots or, drink an elixir and your arm grow back. You got to go to the hospital and get it sewn back, put back together. But then thereafter, what do you need to do to kind of keep yourself healthy? With that idea, I was able to put together and I built there's 8 of us now that actually work for 317 Holistic Health. The idea is we do 3 things. We do massage, we do Reiki, and we do health and wellness coaching for the people who need it. Now, why is that important? It's important to know because I had the idea in my head that I was going to put this together, and now we put it together, and the company's done very, very well. Most everybody on this page, this is their full-time career. So we were able to take something from nothing and make it into something. The second thing I put together was My Leadership Network. My Leadership Network kind of spawned from the idea that so many people needed help and they were kind of lost. And where does that come into play? We're going to talk about that with real estate. So we put this together. I became a John C. Maxwell certified trainer, which gave me some kind of cool leadership skills on how to build teams and how to work with people. And one of the things I found, whether you're in direct sales or you're in natural health or you're in real estate, the unfortunate part is you're dealing with people no matter what you do. A lot of people think they're going to get into real estate and they're just going to deal with dirt or they're going to deal with houses or they're going to deal with multifamily. And the reality is you're actually dealing with a person on the other end of all 3 of those transactions. Almost no matter what you do, you're in a people business. So that's important. The actual idea behind My Leadership Network, which transfers through direct sales all the way into what we're going to do in real estate is to educate and equip entrepreneurs. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people. The vision is to create financially independent servant leaders. It's not just about making money, guys. Although that's important, right? You got to make money first. It's about going and helping other people, and then the purpose is to help people grow and achieve. What are you trying to get to? Where are you trying to go? And that's what the whole company's been based on. These three ideas: educate people, show them how to network with other people. And the networking I'm talking about is networking, knowing other people, building a network of people, not necessarily direct sales network marketing, which is a whole nother, part of a business. And then the third thing is opportunity, give people the opportunity to actually make money by referring an education program to other people. I started Meridian Street Realty Group, like I said, in 2003. You can look that up online. I became, a broker owner. My initial goal was just to sell new homes. That's what I like doing. I still like doing selling new homes. We found kind of an advanced way to do that with some of our investors when it comes to land and custom homes. That's been working out really well. So for those of you who want to jump into real estate or real estate investing really quick and have some money, it is an amazing way to do it. We're looking at several deals, Wise and I and Brandy, and Tom, who's part of the real estate company as well. So here's what we're here to talk about is how My Leadership Network is creating this new product, My REI, and how we're putting together a club. That's what it is. It's a networking club. And I kind of want to tell you a quick story of how this came about the first time. The first time I was in a direct sales company, I figured out a way to help people put their credit back together. And when I figured out how to put people's credit back together, it was during the 2007 and 8 crash. And because I was able to help people put their credit back together, we ended up talking to everybody in real estate because that was the people that I knew. Most of the people I knew were in the real estate business, in the mortgage business, in the title business. They were investors. And I started inviting people to a networking lunch. And what we did is we sat around and grabbed food and we traded cards and we all introduced ourselves. And that luncheon, once a week luncheon, grew to in excess of 100 people a week. 100 people a week were coming out and grabbing lunch and networking. And for about 15 minutes on the back end of that meeting, I was able to say, hey guys, the way that we brought this together was, through a direct sales company. And here's the 6-step system that I put together to put people's credit back together. And here's how I put my own credit back together. And we're using this system. If it's something you want to be involved in, great. If it's not something you want to be involved in, great. You can still come to lunch and network with people. One of the things that transacted out of the first 4 weeks was a friend of mine who's in real estate that I have not contacted yet. His name's Ed. And Ed came to this meeting. He was new with Keller Williams. And he ended up going out in the hall and talking to a guy about a foreclosure that was in the process. And they ended up putting that deal together in the hall, signed some paperwork, came back in. And after the meeting, Ed pulls me aside and he goes, man, any networking group you ever put together in the future, I want to be involved in. He goes, I just made $50,000. That was what he made on that deal in the hallway in 45 minutes. He goes, I just made $50,000 by coming to lunch. So it wasn't so much the product we were selling, and it wasn't so much the organization, the group, or the restaurant that we were at. It was good food, but it wasn't $50,000 worth of good food. It was meeting other people. It was meeting the right person at the right time. So that's kind of what we're doing and pulling together. Del, how are you? People jumping on Facebook. So what is my REI network? What are we doing? And here's the need. Here's the need that I see in the real estate business right now. First of all, I have new people coming to me saying, hey, I want to get into real estate, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to get into. There's so many different ways to make money in real estate, which is absolutely true. I mean, there's everything from, land to wholesaling to bird dogging to single family homes. And there's thousands of gurus, which leads me to the next group of people who come to me. And what I call the social media magic. They've watched one TikTok video or one YouTube video or one Facebook reel, and they come to me and say, hey, Jeff, I just learned how to make $50,000 by signing a piece of paper in a hallway, which, if you've been in real estate for a while, is actually possible. But if you're brand new and don't know anything about anything and you've never bought a house before, it's probably unlikely that you're going to do a deal like that right off the bat. you're going to need some more knowledge than that. And, I always ask people, how much money do you have to invest in real estate? And they usually tell me $16 or $17. And I'm like, chances are you're going to need more money than to be able to find the deals. And then the third group of people that I've run into, and I've run into at least a dozen people here locally in Indianapolis, and the people who are from Indy, I know like Ken Derby that I've, sat down and talked to, he's run into these people too. And Francisco that I was just talking to, have spent over $30,000 going to a guru seminar, and they're all promised that if they spend this $3,000 to $30,000 that they're going to learn, the magic behind real estate investing. And the course, guys, I'm not downing the courses and I'm not downing the people, but instead of them giving people kind of one way that works the best, which is what people on the average, the majority of the people that I sat down with, they think they're going to learn this one cool way to do real estate and everything's going to be taught in that course. What the course is actually about is 30 different ways to do it. And if you know anything about education, a confused mind does nothing. So now they've spent 30 grand, and I'm not joking when I'm talking these numbers. They've spent $30,000 and still have not bought a house, haven't invested in anything, don't know what to do. And now they're buying another book and another seminar. And the people who've spent the biggest money tell me that if they want to go to the next level to actually learn what to do to talk to a person, they have to spend, get this, somewhere between $2,000 to $4,000 a month to join a mastermind group where it's still not one-on-one. All they're doing is talking in a group. And they're like, I just don't have any more money. I took out my 401k, which is where most of the money from these people had come from, is a retirement funds. So not really a good plan. And that's the need. The need right now is there's a need for education of what to do and what not to do, without taking everybody's money. So what I did is I kind of looked through what I always do when I sit down with people is I talk to them about leads, like, well, where the hell are you going to get these leads from? I talked to them about all the different ways to profit. One of the couples that I sat down with, coming out of Saria's meeting, and Saria was another. I could list Saria on that group. It's really the first group of people not knowing what to do. Is people join the REIA groups, which is the Real Estate Education Association, which is a great organization. There's nothing wrong with the organization other than the fact that they teach towards the 10-year veteran. And again, the story proves the point. I go to the first REIA event. It's a wholesaling mastermind. They brought in 3 wholesalers to talk at the front of the room. The room was packed. Why? Because wholesaling is such a popular topic. And the 3 people who were doing it all were making over $100,000 a month. Let me repeat this. All 3 of these people owned their own company wholesaling, and they were all making over $100,000 a month. And they went on for about an hour, where they talked about wholesaling. The problem is here were the questions that were asked during this wholesaling meeting. What is your biggest challenge? How many people did you have to hire? When should you hire somebody? How do you hire people? How do you get rid of people? How do you fire people? Anyway, they went on and on about the structure and more the operation side of the business. And we get done, and I'm sitting at a table. 80% of the people in the room were new. That's the key thing. 80% of the people in the room are new, and the other 20% were 10-year veterans. So I'm sitting in a group of people who are all new, and I'm the veteran at the table, meaning I just kind of know a little bit more. I don't know everything. And I asked the couple next to me, I said, hey guys, before everybody leaves, I do this at every meeting. I said, well, what did you get out of this meeting? And the couple next to me says, not an effing thing. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, well, we came here to learn about wholesaling. And what they taught was how to hire and fire people. I don't need to know how to hire and fire people. I need to know how to do wholesaling. I don't even know what wholesaling, like how it works. I don't know about the contract. I don't know how to sell it. I don't know how to find deals. And they talked a little bit about advertising. One of the individuals talked about their advertising budget being close to 6 figures a month. And the guy just set his pen down and is like, I'm done. Like, I'm not even taking notes. The other 3 people at the table basically had similar opinions that this was a waste of their time coming to this meeting. So I ended up taking everybody's number down. I said, let's go meet and grab coffee. The first couple I sat down, we had coffee, and that's where the 12 Keys to Profit came out. I said, do you guys know there's over a dozen ways to get to 6 figures? And they're like, no. And I literally drew out 12 different ways to get to 6 figures that I know of in real estate. And when I got about halfway through, they stopped me and said, "Why are you not teaching this?" And I said, "Well, I said, I don't want to be kind of like a one-on-one coach to people, but I am going to put something together." And they said, "The moment you put it together, I want to be involved in it." I said, "Okay, cool, we'll get together." And then the third product, the mastermind, is I realize I meet with a lot of people in the industry, and they're missing basic sales skills. They're missing the, and I had a conversation, and I'm going to use Wise as an example, because we had a great conversation in the car. He had a lead that called on one of our properties, and it was an investor from out of town. And this is a perfect example of what the mastermind's about. And he's like, "Hey, I want you to hear this call and then, give me some feedback." I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." So he calls this lady and he, talks to her. And of course, her first question is what? "Well, I'm calling." He said, "This is Wise. I'm calling about blah, 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 calling you back. You inquired about this house." And I'm like, he's like, "Yeah," or she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And she's like, "What is the address? What is the price? What are the terms?" And he just basically went into sales mode and read off all these numbers to her, which she was searching for a pen. And I'm like, I kind of like whispered to him or kind of like mouthed to him, "Hey, why don't you just text her that stuff?" And he's like, "Okay, great, blah, blah, blah." And you could tell her reaction was bad. The reason it was bad is the house is set up to be sold to a owner occupant. It's not a deal that's set up for a investor. So he gets off the phone and he's like, "Man, I'm going to send her over this information." I said, "Okay." And I like to ask this question. I said, "Well, out of the conversation you just had," I'm like, "how do you think that went?" And he's like, "Yeah, it was okay, but I think it was missing some things." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what could you have done better? Or what do you think you could have done better?" And he's like, "Oh, I definitely could have asked her some more questions. I could have asked her, about like what her time frame is and this, that, and the other thing." And I said, "Well, this is a classic like thing that I see in the business, especially for new people, where you're trying to sell the property instead of learn about the person." And he's like, "Okay, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, you were so focused on that one property that this lady is an investor. Why not ask?" I said, "One of the questions needs to be is what are you trying to achieve? How many properties are you looking to buy? What is your price range? What are you trying to find?" I'm like, what if she's an investor that could bring a couple $1 million to the table? And instead of trying to sell her one house that makes, I mean, we're going to make some money. The investor's going to make money. Yes, that is our focus. That is our focus, is to move properties. But I'm like, what if we could, do a syndication deal? What if we could pull some money together and buy something much bigger? What if she wants to be in on bigger deals? I'm like, don't, don't, don't try to win the battle and lose the war. I'm like, the idea is we need to learn about people. And he goes, "Oh, wow." So we kind of made a list of the questions that could have been asked. And then he goes, "You know what this reminds me of? I need to call another investor back that is called about these properties, because we have these properties listed on MLS because we're, real estate people. And we have them listed in multiple other places, which is also something we can talk about in the mastermind. Um, and we're getting a lot of investor calls." He goes, "Well, I have at least two other investors that I need to call back and actually ask these same questions, because we might be able to turn, a person looking for one house into 20 deals over the next 5 years." I said, "How much do you think you'd make off of 20 investment properties over the next times three people?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just lost, or I would have lost a ton of money trying to move one property." So the sales skills, like what to ask, and that's a simple thing. It's not that he did anything wrong. It's just there's a bigger picture that was missed. And that's what I see a lot of new people and even experienced people, I've done it, do wrong. And I've learned from people who have done much, much bigger deals. So that's what the mastermind's about. It's not just sales techniques, but also leadership stuff on more long term. Everything I look at is not just short term. Yes, the goal is to move the money as fast as possible. Yes, success loves speed. But if you really want to get wealthy, wealth loves loyalty and wealth loves networking. So let's talk about these products. Unlimited leads. So the first thing is if you don't have a lead, if you don't have somebody to go talk to, if you don't have a property to look at, you don't have a deal to do anyway. And one of the things that I found, one of the most important things that I found, is the association of who you know. So what we did is we put together a product called Unlimited Leads, so that way we can create a private group of separating, and that's all it is. It's separating the tire kickers from the people who are actually going to do something. And I learned this from John Maxwell. I was like, John Maxwell's written like 100 books. He's the #1 leadership guru in the world. He makes over $150,000 to come and talk for an hour. He's one of my mentors. I've read over 30 of his books and taken notes on them, and became certified to teach his stuff because I think it's probably some of the best out there that you can teach. And he said one of the reasons that he's made so much money is he's found a way to basically say no to all the things and all the people that are tire kickers versus the people who really want to be involved. And he goes, there has to be an inclusion exclusion thing. He goes, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of the people are kicking tires and looking and talking, and 20% of the people are actually engaged in actually doing something. So when you get into real estate, one of the things you want to do is you want to get into the rooms where people are actually looking at things and doing things. Doesn't mean they've closed the deal yet. It doesn't mean they're making money yet, but there's a big difference between people who are just talking and people who are actually looking at properties and doing things. So I said, if we're going to put together a club, I want to put together a club that costs money to get into, but the money has to be so low that it's a no-brainer that anybody could do it. So I said, well, what about like something right around $50? $50 one time. It's enough to scare somebody who's absolutely broke, who shouldn't be in the group at all, out. That's the purpose of it. It's just to scare. It's like, you don't belong. Like, go get a job first. Go pay your bills first. This is not about getting rich quick. It's about getting rich smart, right? So that's the first product, Unlimited Leads, the private Facebook page. What if when you had to enter a private Facebook page, you had to list out who you were and what you're looking for, and you got the list of what everybody else does in that group, like right up front, percentage wise? Okay, there's 10 people here who are contractors. There's 5 people here who are plumbers. There's 8 people here. And we kind of keep tabs on the people who are doing good work and who aren't doing good work. We're keeping tabs on the people who call people back and the people who don't call people back. By the way, one of the reasons I want to do this is because I reached out to 50 realtors, 50 licensed realtors who were licensed by the, had a state license and were also part of the metropolitan. I did it all in Indianapolis. They were all part of the Indianapolis Board of Realtors. And I mean, I hate to tell on people, but out of 50 people that I reached out to, I text them as a realtor asking them, hey, I've got a question for you. Out of 50 people, you want to guess how many people actually got back to me? Some people say, because I've asked other people, they're like 50%, 20%. 4 people got back to me. 4. Now, think about this. I'm a real estate agent contacting you as a real estate agent. I could have been talking to you about a listing. I could have been talking to you about a buyer. I could have been talking to you about a referral. By law, you're supposed to return calls in a certain amount of time. And I've been guilty of not returning calls, so I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means. But like reaching out to 50 realtors, 4 people got back to me. What if one of those people was representing you? Like, is that how you want things to go down? So this is also a checks and balances group. It's not just a group, but nonetheless, that's what we're doing. The 12 Keys to Profit is exactly what it says. It's a virtual recorded weekly class on how to find, how to structure, how to sell, how to close, and how to profit from different types of deals, right? It's one thing to learn what to do in a deal, but how do you find it? How do you pitch it? How do you sell it to the person? That's what we're going to talk about. We're also going to do a Q&A, just like we do at our 10 key fundamentals in direct sales. We're going to have a Q&A at the end, so that way if we go through something, you have a question, you're actually going to be able to ask and say, hey, I'm looking at a deal right now, or I've run into a deal like this. How would you have figured this out? How would you have done this? And now you have options. One of the keys to getting deals done is knowing what your options are. We put this together, so this is weekly. So some weeks there's 4 Wednesdays, some weeks there's 5 Wednesdays. If there's ever a Wednesday that falls on a holiday, like, obviously our 10 keys got messed up this last week because it fell on Super Bowl Sunday. So I knew our viewing audience would be like me. and maybe Benny, who called me. We're just going to do it on a different day and we'll reorganize it. But otherwise, it'll always be on Wednesday. That's $59 a month. Again, I wanted it to be something that anybody could afford. And people are like, well, what are the topics? The first topic is going to be mindset. And the reason I say mindset is, going back to one of the couples that I talked to, is they said, well, I just want to make some money. And I run into a lot of people. They said, hey, I just want to make some money in real estate. I said, well, how much money? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, are we talking about $100? Are we talking about $1,000? Are we talking about $10,000? Do you want to make $100,000 a year? I'm like, it makes a big difference. I'm like, are you just looking, I often find what your dollar figure that you're looking for has a lot to do with what you focus on. There's a lot of deals you don't need to look at because that money doesn't even exist in those type of deals. And I learned this about looking for jobs, right? And most people don't know this, but the majority of jobs usually fall under $50,000. Like 85, 90% of jobs all fall under $50,000. So a friend of mine that made a lot of money said, well, here's one key that you can do is eliminate, if you're looking to get paid more, right? If you're looking business minded, if you're looking to get paid more, and I don't want to work a job, but I'm saying if you did, I would first eliminate all the jobs that paid underneath $50, $60, $70,000. I would only look at the jobs that pay 75, 80 or up. And a lot of people say, yeah, but I don't have a degree, or I've had this happen, or I don't have training, or I don't have this. None of that matters. None of that. Now, yes, it matters if you're going to be a doctor. Yes, it matters if you're going to be an attorney. But when it comes to just basic jobs, there's a lot of things that pay astronomically well that you might not love, but you can make way more money than what you're making now. So the mindset is really how to go from being an employee to being self-employed, because that's where you start out when you first become a real estate investor. Is you start out, you're self-employed. There's nobody else on your team. There's nobody else doing anything. You're having to figure it all out on your own, which is one of the reasons you need a networking group to know who you should go talk to. Finding a mentor is key. Finding a strategy that you want to focus on is key. And one of the things I did is I sat down with that couple, right? And when I talked about the 12 ways to make money, one of the things we talked about was mindset. And I asked them the question, how much money they wanted to make. And they were like, I don't know. I just want to make some money. And I'm like, well, there's a big difference between making $1,000 and making $100,000. And I started showing them how to make this different money and doing these different deals. I said, you could do, at $100, you'd have to do 100 deals. $100, you'd have to do 100 deals to get to some decent money, a month. I said, or you could do 10 deals at $1,000. Now you're at 10,000 a month, which means you need 100 of those deals in a year to do 120. We worked all the way up to, and I said, there are deals out there. We just looked at a deal like this. There are deals out there where you can make $100,000 in one deal. Just one deal. In the real estate business, is the deal big enough? Is it profitable enough? Does it make sense? So mindset. How do you set up a corporation? How do you set up a website? How do you set up a business card? And what a lot of people do is they make crazy decisions in the beginning because they just don't know. The couple that I was talking to, the name of their LLC was their actual name. We're going to have some attorneys in this group, I know, because I have a friend who's an attorney who wants to be part of this group because he deals with contracts. And if you ask an attorney or anybody who understands asset protection what they think of putting your name as the LLC, they would say you have absolute fucking brain damage if you put your name as the LLC's name, because the whole purpose of an LLC is to separate yourself from the corporation. Separate yourself. So if your name is the corporation, that's not good. For instance, if Ken Derby, and I'm just picking on you because it's the first name that I saw, if he created Derby LLC, an attorney's going to pierce right through that. That's not a good LLC name. Your initials is not a good LLC name. Your kid's name is not a good LLC name. You need to disguise, and it has to be completely separate. So that's just one of the things I learned. Well, the couple that I was sitting down with, their LLC was their name. And I said, do you realize that's not a good thing? And they said, no. And I said, well, I'm not telling you what to do, but you need to talk to they're like, well, we talked to an attorney. I said, no, you told the attorney what to do. You didn't ask them their opinion. I said, you need to start asking professional people's opinion. And that's part of the mindset is who are you talking to? Who are you around? Who are you getting your information from? And here's kind of a key. Are you getting your information from people who are making the kind of money you want to make? Or are you getting your information from people who make less than you do? And I know I went on the mindset for a long time, but guys, the mindset stuff, this is where you make money or lose money right here before you even get into looking at a deal, right? Credit is the second thing I'm going to talk about. And the reason I'm going to talk about credit, and I'm really going to be strong on this, is if you can't take care of your own credit, you don't have any fucking business buying a house and putting other people in it. Plain and simple. And I will warn you, and I will recommend you not buying anything, acquiring anything until you can take care of your own credit. So, are there ways to do it? Yes. You need to get into sales. You need to be selling something first before you acquire anything. Because I know for a fact, if you can't take care of your own credit, you are not going to take care of the deals that you get. Because there's guys, there's just so much paperwork, and there's so many different things that can go wrong. And by the way, I forgot to put a warning on this training that there's absolutely no filter, just like the classes. I'm not going to be really nice. I'm going to tell you the truth, and the truth can sometimes be brutal and ugly. And I'm not, I'm not preaching here. This is not, the Christian book club. I'm not trying to be, necessarily mean, but I am going to make really, really strong points. So I hope that's okay. If it's not okay, this group is not for you. Just get off right now. The next is marketing. Now, why would marketing be important? Well, if you don't know how to market, none of the rest of this stuff works. If you cannot find a deal, you cannot do a deal. So one of the ways that I want to talk to you and show you is how to find deals, listen to me, for free. How do you find deals for free? How do you find deals for very, very little money? When I closed over 100 homes in 1 year, I never spent more than $300 a month in marketing. Yes, there are ways to do it like that. And $300 to some of you seems like $1 million, because if you don't have a lot of money, $300 is $1 million. But compared to the wholesalers that were doing, they weren't even doing 100 deals, and they were spending $100,000 a month on advertising trying to acquire deals. We are going to talk about wholesaling, because guys, I did wholesaling by accident. When somebody said, hey, do you know what wholesaling is? And they're like, I'm like, I mean, I think. This was years ago. And they said, well, it's when you find a property and you kind of sign on it or close on it and you automatically have it flipped to another person. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that by accident. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, I was in the process. I already held the contract on a house that I was closing on. And while I was out putting a sign in the yard, because I had already talked to the client about the rights to do this, putting a sign in the yard, an investor drove up and said, hey, do you own this house? And I'm like, well, I'm about to. And he goes, well, I want it. And I was like, cool. What if we do this deal where I just assign this contract to you and I get the other part of the deal? And I explained to him what I meant by that. And he's like, dude, that sounds great. So I think I had done the deal the day before within 48 hours. Within 48 hours, we flipped that deal. Contract buying is next. How do you buy a house without money? And how do you buy a house without credit? I've done it 14 times. I've helped other people do it. This is subject twos. This is where lease to buys. This is where sandwich mortgage, wraparound mortgage. This is where land contracts come in. There are ways to buy single family homes, multifamily homes, and commercial property without money, without credit, and without hard money, which is also kind of cool. There are ways to do it. I've done it many, many times, and that I'm really good at. And I will tell you, the main thing about contract buying is finding the deal and knowing how to sell it. I've actually worked with a lot of people who went in and lost the deal because they didn't know how to sell it. And I found it later through other people, through other means, mainly my advertising, and come to find out that they had already talked to somebody and somebody had pitched it to them, but they didn't know how to explain it to them. So they didn't do it. And they did it with me because I knew how to explain it. And I had the one thing that the other person didn't, which was credibility, that I had been doing the deals and I knew what I was talking about. 7, Q&A. I'm sure people are going to have deals by this point. If we go through these first 6 weeks, people are going to have questions. They're going to have deals on all this stuff, because sometimes you're going to hear about a technique and it's going to take a day or 2 days or a week before you're like, what? Now I have questions. So this is something you do want to get a notebook that's specifically for this product and these classes to learn how to do. We're going to talk about flipping, which I've done. I grew up, my stepdad and his brothers were all construction. So I learned how to frame, and I learned how to brick, and I learned how to roof. I learned a little bit about plumbing. What I learned about plumbing is if you mess it up, it's 4 times more expensive than if you just hire somebody to do it. Plumbing is not something I really love doing, but it's something I learned about. Wax seals and, just the basics of changing out, toilets and faucets and changing sprayer heads and stuff like that. But ripping an entire property apart is not something that I would do. I would hire somebody. I learned a little bit about electricity. Is if you get it wrong, you're dead. So also better to hire somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, who's a licensed contractor. It's great to get opinions, but flipping is very, very cool. And if you know of plumbers or you know of electricians, I want them in our group. That guys, for $47, they would gladly pay somebody to be that referral person. Rentals, obviously, rentals is important. We're not only going to talk about regular rentals, we're going to talk about lease to buys, which I specifically love. That's how I sold almost all, or moved almost all my properties. A lease with option is what it's called. In the state of Indiana, it's one of the strongest positions to hold on to property, because you have all the benefits of kind of selling it, meaning you don't have the same, liability. You have more control in the deal, but you also have the ability to, if they don't pay, you don't have to go through foreclosure like you would in a land contract. So there's a lot of legal term stuff here that we're going to talk about on how to do it. Next is becoming a realtor. For some of you, I'll be real honest, you need to become a realtor. We talked about the people who have credit issues and things like that, who, just can't get their own self together. Become a real estate agent first. Sell houses first. If you're selling a house first, it's probably a lot better than you acquiring a deal and getting sued and ending up in jail. And yes, you can go to jail in many states, including Indiana, if you happen to, have the wrong people in and it drops below 32 and they haven't paid their electric bill or their gas bill and you didn't go in and fix that situation, you can actually go to jail. Messing around with property, people think it's so glorious because of the money, but I've met people who are great people. They just didn't know the law and they ended up in jail because of their tenants. So you might want to become a realtor. We're going to talk about the benefits and we're going to talk about the drawbacks, because there's not all benefits to becoming a realtor. Sometimes it's not the greatest thing. Hey Drake, what's happening? But becoming a realtor can be good. The top realtor last year made a little over $12 million. $12 million. He made $1 million a month. And that's just selling, right? There's also people who have real estate teams and own property and all kinds of stuff. And then we're going to talk about multifamily. Multifamily, what we're talking about is anytime you have 5 units or more. I think the most I've ever done was like 15. It's not something that I have, tons and tons of experience, but that's where I'm headed. That's one of the main things that I'm looking at. And then commercial. We're going to talk about commercial deals, which I've done. Strip malls, strip centers, leases, and, putting businesses in businesses. Guys, how cool is it to have a business? I own a business and we're currently looking for a large commercial building somewhere around 6,000 to 10,000 square feet, where we can take 317 Holistic Health, own the property outright, and have the business paying it off. And I want to do that in multiple states. So hopefully, if that product line interests you, or you think it would interest other people, I've spent the majority of time on this because I think this is where most people are going to get kind of the most out of this. And the only product that's kind of be worth more than that is the monthly mastermind, when we actually one Saturday a month get together in an afternoon. And how would you like to hear me get on the phone and actually pre-qualify people who are calling in, whether we're calling an investor or whether we're calling to network with a contractor, or whether we're calling leads that are calling us because they're looking for a lease to buy. And you want to see how I pre-qualify somebody, what I'm asking. Guys, it's not just saying the right words and it's the tone of voice, it's how you do things. These are also going to be virtual and live. So once a month, we're going to get together live. So if you want to meet a group of people, how nice would it be to actually physically meet the people who are in your local market doing things? These are the people, obviously, if you get to this point, these are people who are actually doing deals or in the process of closing on deals. So this is focused on sales, leadership skills, answering questions. We're going to do a Q&A. We'll also have a private Facebook page for this. This is $129 a month. So if you look at the compensation plan of my leadership network, it's the same compensation plan as my REI. It's the same thing because it is a product line underneath my leadership network. My leadership network is the parent company that pays out everything. So this whole program is an affiliate program. And what that means is if you belong to any of it, and I forgot to change, no, I didn't. If you belong to it, and if you belong to any product, that product has a compensation plan to it attached. It doesn't mean you have to go sell it. It just means you have the ability to if you want to. So here's how that breaks down. If you own and you're just part of the network, the $47 is 100% commission. What does that mean? That means the company, corporate, my leadership network, myself, Brandy, we don't receive $1 of that money unless we sell it, right? Unless I bring you into the program, that money doesn't go to us, it goes to you. Now, you see here in big letters, it says peer-to-peer payment system. What that means is you don't pay corporate and we pay you. That person pays you directly through our back office. The way I set this up is everybody has their own back office when you sign up. You got your own back office, you got your own link. And when you refer this program off to somebody else, you can get paid directly. You can get paid by cash, check, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, chickens, eggs. You can barter with whatever the hell you want to as long as you feel you've gotten $47 in value. As long as it's legal. The attorneys made me say that. As long as it's legal. We want legal transactions. But if it's legal, you're good. The next one is 80% commission on everything else. So the other two products, the $59 a month, the 12 keys to profit, you receive $47 a month every time somebody would pay that. So if you referred somebody in and you own the product, you make $47 every time they make their payment. Pretty cool. Where does the rest of the money go? The rest of the money goes up to corporate, so that way we can run stuff and buy, food for the events, and give stuff out and pay for advertising and marketing and all that good stuff, because I'm sure we're going to do meetings in other places. 80% commission on the mastermind, so you earn $103 if you referred that out to somebody else, which means if you have somebody in the first 3 programs, you not only make $47 up front one time, but you're making $150 residual off of every person you put all into the program. Now, the rest of these products actually deal with growing an organization. So the people I'm talking to are not the people who are interested in just real estate. They're the people who are interested in building a gigantic ass network within this structure, so that way they can earn 50,000, 6 figures, $250,000 just building their network team, so they can use that money to go into real estate. You might want to learn how to recruit, team build, grow your own events, certification. Those are programs for building organizations. They're available through this system because if you buy one, you get both. The all-in, so obviously if you were all in and paid for everything up front, it'd be $5,200, just a little over $5,200, and you'd be paying out, somewhere around $188 a month. That would give you both the direct sales program and the real estate program, whichever one you want to plug into. But I did an all-in founders. I knew there were certain people who were like, look, I'd just rather pay one price and be in and not have a monthly and do anything. And that's $997 one time. $997 one time means you get the entire program. I sound like an infomercial. At least that's what it sounds like to me. So rather than paying $2,256 a year if you have those first 3 products and you're in every year, rather than paying $2,200 a year, you pay $1,000 once and you have the whole program. When I started my leadership network a year ago, my leadership network is still going on. So there's tons of people in the program who can verify that we're still doing this. It happens on Sundays. Those meetings went up. The masterminds go on every single month. This program is going to be around as long as Brandy and I are both alive and we haven't, blown up the world, or aliens haven't landed, or a train doesn't derail that kills us all. And I don't mean to be funny about that, but if you know what I'm talking about. The all-in founders position is also something that I learned actually from Cynthia. So I think Cynthia's on here somewhere. She told me about this 6-month interest-free financing is available through PayPal. You do have to have a 700 credit score. Not everybody has a 700 credit score, but if you do, you can break this payment into 6 months and pay like $200 a month. Also, the 997 does have an 80% commission. So if you go all in and you know somebody else that's going to go all in, guess what? You'll get an $800 approximate $800 check minus whatever fees you have, however you set up your payment plan. And now the whole program costs you $200. We have a friend that lives in Wisconsin that when I showed him the program, he had 2 other friends on the phone with him. He said, I think we should do this. They all agreed. They all went in kind of back to back, and he basically made his money back and then some the first day. I think he was $600 ahead. So if you know some people, that works. People have asked me, hey, to be part of this program, do I have to be a real estate agent? No. Do I have to have experience? No. Do I have to be licensed? No. Is there a huge background check or anything like that? No. Real estate investing is kind of buyer beware at your own pace. You don't have to have anything. Now, obviously, to be a realtor, you have to be licensed. There are going to be background checks if you're a realtor. There's going to be background checks if you go into, lending or banking. But with this program, as long as you're breathing and alive, we shouldn't have a problem with you. So my REI network, kind of the mission behind what we're doing is to provide education, connections, and opportunity. The vision is to grow and educate a nationwide network. Guys, I want a nationwide network because what I realize is there's people investing in Indiana from the rest of the country. There's people investing in Indiana from Canada. There's people investing in Indiana and all the rest of the states from outside the country. I want to meet more people. Our purpose is to create successful real estate investors. I don't care if you stay with our program and you end up going to Fortune Builders or Grant Cardone's program or Chris Korn's program or any other guru. Like, that's cool. You just do whatever works for you, right? But the philosophy here is I want everybody to win in a deal. Yes, we want good deals. I want the best price I can get. But it's not about screwing somebody over to get that deal done. It's about everybody winning and being able to make money, and everybody, walks away. Obviously, if they agree to it, then they had to do it. We're not twisting anybody's arm. We're not making anything happen. So with that being said, that is a wrap on who we are, what we do. So from here, every single person that's part of this program has a link. Through that link, you're able to sign up for this program. It's already live. It's already ready on my leadership network. This program is all set up through Facebook pages. So as you join the products, you get an email. That email or text message that comes out says, hey, you bought this program, you can join the networking side, network marketing side, or you can join the real estate side. Which Facebook page do you want to join? You can join both of them if you want. If you only want the real estate, you just pick the real estate. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The classes will start in March. So next week, we'll do another kind of pre-launch. Obviously, I have to get good at actually talking about this stuff because we're going to be talking about it a lot. I'm in the process of putting the final touches on all 12 of those classes. So that way, we have preloaded questions, some preloaded content so you guys can take notes on the stuff that I've done, the stuff that I know, where to go get documents, where to go get, who to use, when to use, where to use, how to pitch deals, things like pre-qualification sheets. How would you like a pre-qualification sheet of the exact questions I ask and how I've pre-qualified over 1,000 people? That might be helpful to ask those questions in that order. And, maybe you get it and you take out stuff you don't like and use whatever. I don't care. But just to have a guide the whole way through. So again, we're starting those in March. It will be on Wednesday evening. I believe we're probably going to run the classes from 8 to 10. And the reason we're going to run them 8 to 10 is I have friends that want to be on this that are in California. I have friends that want to be on this that are in Arizona. I have friends in Colorado that want to be part of this. So if we tried to run it at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, so your ass can be in bed by 8 o'clock, what I can say is rich people do not get rich by going to bed at 6:30 in the evening unless you're like Shaq, right? Or Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson goes to bed at like 8 o'clock. Congratulations if you want to wake up at 4 in the fucking morning. I don't want to do that. Most people aren't able to do that. But if that's your goal, thumbs up to you. I'm happy. Let's do it. If not, and you have to go to sleep or you miss one of them, they're all recorded. They will be up on the Facebook page within 24 to 48 hours at worst case scenario, because one time I was sick and had COVID, and I actually did the meeting. James, I think you were here for that meeting, right? Is James still here? Yeah.
Yes.
James, you've been with the My Leadership program for almost the entire time, or known about it the whole time. Can you just give kind of your background and just kind of a quick, this was total impromptu testimonial about how we've ran My Leadership Network and how it's been helpful and what you see about this.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking me. James Morin out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I've known Jeff for over a decade now, in a company that we were both in the network marketing vertical. And when he first created the My Leadership Network meeting, it was like a breath of fresh air to me. I've never seen anything put together like this. I've always had the quote unquote fluff, rah rah type of training from corporate in my network marketing company, and basically it didn't seem real. I love the unfiltered approach that Jeff has, and it resonates with me because it's real. It's not fluffy. And through his training, it's just the mindset. It just really dials into many people's weaknesses or perceived weaknesses to um, see how we can overcome them and just be more productive. And so many different. I mean, there's so many nuggets that I get. I take pages and pages of notes every time I listen and rewatch the recordings, and I'm just so fortunate that this came about, and it's amazing, Jeff. I appreciate everything you and Brandy have done, um, and I'm looking forward to the REI. I'm really interested in the real estate, but for me, in my prospecting efforts, I've noticed a change in the quality of people that I'm bringing in, and how I'm able to uh, let people go that really I should not be working with, that really don't deserve um, to work with me. So I definitely attribute that to the training that I received here. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Guys, before we jump off, is there any questions I can answer? Because I know I've had some people ask some stuff about, are we going to cover something, or how we're going to cover something. Does anybody have anything before we wrap this up and jump off? Dakota, how are you? Jolene says no, good to go. Anybody else?
How you doing,
Jerry,
brother?
Ken, hello? Jimmy? Anyone? Tom?
I'm good to go.
Okay.
I'm good to go.
Okay, with that being said, next Wednesday we're going to do this again, and then who's ever signed in, go get back with the person who brought you here. They'll get you their link. If this is something you want to participate in, at whatever level you want to participate. If you want to participate at $47, great, you'll be in just that group. If you want to get into the class, obviously that's the next level up. If you want to get into the mastermind, get all three. It's kind of your choice. You get in where you fit in. If you want the whole thing, let's get the whole thing and get it going. So we will wrap it up, and everybody have a great evening. You know where to find me online.